Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. We want to give a warning that some viewers may find the details of this next segment a little disturbing. It may not be appropriate for a younger audience. It's a new podcast that re-examines a case that gripped the Pacific Northwest in hopes of finding justice for the victims of a killer who terrorized young women in Washington state in the 70s. Here to share more, we welcome the host of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, journalist Carolyn Ossorio. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me about what piqued your interest in this story. It sounds like you're a lifelong resident of the Pacific Northwest, right?
I am. I'm closer to Seattle, so I've made many trips down to your wonderful community, and it's been quite the journey. A couple years ago, I was doing a regional true crime podcast. Before that, I was a reporter for Cairo Radio, and I just love the podcasting as a vehicle to tell long form storytelling. And so then when I heard about a serial killer, Warren Forrest, living in the Pacific Northwest for all of my life, pretty much, I just couldn't believe that I'd never heard of the name, and then what he'd done. But what really brought me to the case were the family members, the survivors, the investigators. Really this 9-part series, deep dive into the Warren Forrest investigation, is more about their stories than it is about his story.
Absolutely. So set the scene for us a bit, just the basic bullet points. Warren Forrest is behind bars, convicted of 2 murders, but suspected and possibly many more.
Yeah, so you just saw Norma. That's her right there. 15-year-old girl in 1974, the summertime. She was going through a lot, hard, having some troubles at home, but she was just sitting on the side of the road smoking a cigarette. Warren Forrest comes up, good-looking guy, and asks if he can give her a ride home. She says no, but he keeps, he's super manipulative and, really just didn't come across, her spidey sense wasn't engaged. Hitchhiking was just such a huge thing in the 70s. And then he kidnapped her and basically, drove her around, hogtied her in the back of his van, brought her to Tukes Mountain, and tied her between 2 trees. And he told her he was going to come back. He had to leave, and he was totally planning on coming back. And she was able to chew through her bindings that were around her mouth to escape. Bunny hopped throughout the rest of the night, and then she was found at the Clarks County Parks and Rec Department. They didn't know this, but he was an employee there, and he had this specialty key, but she wasn't believed. And so we really go into her story about why she wasn't believed, what happened. So, and that's the great thing about podcasting and true crime, where it's not just about the acts, the horrific acts, but kind of what's going on in people's lives. These girls were very vulnerable, and so we go into a lot of those places that are difficult to hear, but also really important because there's so many heroes in this story. It's not all doom and gloom. In fact, it is so inspiring. People who have listened, they're like, posting on social media, like, I believe you, Norma. So it's all like very difficult, but also very inspiring.
Right. And Norma's sheer will to survive and carry on. And it feels like you really approach all these stories with care. Tell me about leading with compassion in that sense, because a lot of us, I think, we're familiar with true crime content, but it doesn't always feel like it's handled in the most sensitive manner.
Well, I think that this is my personal opinion and what drew me to true crime, because before I had started a true crime podcast in 2019, I wasn't a part of that genre, but I feel like many of us are impacted by crime, and 80% of the audience is women because a lot of us deal with this issue. I was recently at CrimeCon for the first time, promoting the event, and some people are there for so many different reasons, but many of them, either they've experienced this trauma, and it's like a community. And so I think that it's not just about talking about the horrific things in a person's life or observing it. It's just that it's very relatable in different levels, and it's so important. Like I've said this so many times, it's a Trojan horse for other things. And I think people are like, how do I not become a victim if they can pick up some tips? But then also, it's not just me. It's not just me. And I think that that's absolutely why I do the work that I do. And of course, what always draws me to these types of cases are these freaking heroes.
Yeah.
These people who should have given up so long ago, like Star Lara, her sister is believed to have been the first victim. December 7th, 1971, she disappeared, was never heard from again. And then, but she has been connected to the Warren Forest investigation. And she is such a quiet, powerful fighter, just never, ever, ever giving up. And I think that that is the place where people just are so like that story touches people, someone who just doesn't give up.
Yeah, so impactful in so many ways. I want to remind folks you are going to be in our area very soon for an event, and we're going to have those details on our website for our viewers. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Okay, all episodes of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley are available now wherever you get your podcasts. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.